The creator's got a saw and he's taking it where the wind blows. I'm Van Connor.
And I'm Adam Ball, and this is Off Screen, your 7-day guide to everything movies.
Boom.
Groovy.
Well, here we are then. Welcome back to another show. So we've got 3 big movies to talk about this week. We'll attack Saw X, Saw 10 then, essentially, that is, right?
Yeah, I think we're going with it's the Fast X, Fast 10 of it all, isn't it? What do you call it? I mean, they seem to annoyingly call it Fast 10. I'm like, no, it's Fast X, man. I think it was Tyrese said it's Fast X. So I'm going with Saw X. Let's just call it Saw X.
Or we could just call it Sex.
We'll
talk about sex in a minute.
Well, Sawks. It's Sawks. Because written down as Sawks.
That's
Sawks.
true. And also Where the Wind Blows. But let's start with the creator. I have heard some really good things about this, and I'm hoping you're going to back them up.
Well, I am, and I'm going to make you very happy because, I'm not going to play coy on this one. I bloody love this film; it's so good. Right,
good.
So new movie from director Gareth Edwards, who brought us Monsters in 2010. That he did the visual effects for in his bedroom. He's a real masterful low budget creature feature. Then moved on to Godzilla in 2014. From that, gets the job directing the first ever Star Wars spin-off movie. He directs Rogue One, which is, one of the best of the Star Wars flicks. Then goes on and now we've got him returning to something kind of similar in a sense to Monsters, like his debut film. This feels almost like a loop back, but with a sort of James Cameron homage running through it. So it's set, I think it's set in 2070, I think, thereabouts. And it's after this, we get this whole future history in which America, like the rest of the countries around the world, starts looking into AI. And AI starts to become a part of, society. And in the US, this leads to violence. This leads to an actual nuke being detonated in Los Angeles by an AI. So America outlaws artificial intelligence. However, other countries around the world don't follow suit, and this leads to a global war by America against artificial intelligence, hunting down cyborgs, effectively. So it's a full, and you can pick. There's a lot of Vietnam allegorizing going on through this, incidentally, as you can probably tell. This then takes us to our present day, after in this world, and we follow John David Washington's character, who initially is a sort of undercover agent for the US, going undercover with artificial intelligence cults, but has lost his pregnant wife in a previous mission. He gets a shot at redemption by going on a mission to hunt down a weapon the artificial intelligence nations supposedly have put together. And said weapon happens to be a small android boy. I've got a clip for you. This is the pair on the run from various forces, and this is John David Washington's character of Joshua trying to take the boy for his safety. Take the girl for her sake.
Come on, little Sam, get in the car. Hey, it'll be fun. Like cartoons, it'll be fun, okay? It's like a game, hide and seek. I'll drive fast. All right, let's go. It'll be fun, right? Come on. This is hella fun. Why don't you want to get in the car? It's a lot of fun. Look, get in the damn car.
So is this kind of iRobot but modernized?
Right, there's a little bit of iRobot to it. Now, this is, in many ways, this is sort of the thing about it. This is where I think this is the sticking point for a lot of people on this movie. There's a lot of referencing to other films. There's a lot of, I think a friend of mine who I took along to the premiere last night, he referred to it as it's all the classic jazz riffs just repeated. It's like a cover band. I'm like, yes, it is, but it's a bloody good one. It really is. And there's a lot of calling back to, you say things like iRobot. I will say Chappie, for instance, with Neil Blomkamp. There's a bit of that. There's a bit of District 9. There's a bit of Monsters. There's a lot of James Cameron. There's a lot of Cameroning going on in there. And you know me and Cameron. I love me some James Cameron. Sorry, knocking the camera there. I love me some James Cameron. So when you've got a movie that somehow only costs $80 million, as well. Like this thing, and you can. This is where it goes back to Gareth Edwards on Monsters and the level of VFX he managed to wring out of no money on Monsters, and you see it here with this $80 million movie that is absolutely staggeringly huge. It looks amazing. We saw this in IMAX. I cannot recommend highly enough. Go and seek this out in IMAX because you want that massive screen just to drink in how absolutely stunning this is. Other reference points, think of things like Oblivion with Tom Cruise, the Joe Kosinski movie. There's a lot of post-apocalyptic stuff in there. You could think of the Viggo Mortensen adaptation of The Road, for instance, as well. It's a really, really good movie. Great performance in the lead from John David Washington, who you can hear in the clip. He just brings that charisma, and this is him on his dad form as well. He's really going for the younger Denzel vibe here. I don't know if you could hear it in the voice there when he's trying to coax the kid into the car.
One thing I would like to know is, with it being such a low budget movie, I say low budget, 80 million's not low, is it? But I mean, in comparison to what it's going to get back at the box office if it's good, how has he made it seem so good and look so big? Is it a lot of CGI or is it just very clever camera work?
Right, there is a lot of CGI to it, obviously, because some of the visuals are extreme. You're talking about a world that's, got androids walking around, like believably got, robots walking around, like serving as police officers. I mean, this thing literally goes to space, and this all is presented with very cool, not too showy visual effects. The idea here is to make things seem ordinary. It's got that wonderful Blade Runner idea running through it of, yes, this is objectively a very cool futuristic city, but it's also 20, 30 years old and all the scratch marks are there. Kind of a thing. It's got the scuffs around the edges. The attention to detail is there, but not in a way that makes it so showy. It's also got very clever use of location shooting, apparently. I think this was shot on a relatively efficient amount of time, like quite a brief amount of time. But there's a lot of great use of location shooting and then augmented with visual effects. And I say the results are absolutely extraordinary. Also, Ken Watanabe is in this movie, and Ken Watanabe absolutely steals it in every line of dialogue from his wonderful, wonderful mouth. I love Ken Watanabe. I will watch him in anything, and he owns this completely. I just thought this was a really, really good movie. Like I say, it's a bit derivative. There are those homages, there are those bits there, but this is a movie that I think should be looked at on the level of something like Highlander in terms of its sort of impact and the sort of audience it's going to resonate with. Something like Highlander. Joss Whedon's Serenity would be a good one. Snowpiercer, Bong Joon-ho's Snowpiercer. Fans of that. People who are apologists for Elysium with Matt Damon, I think they'll be in for a treat with this one, because I literally had that conversation on the way out the screen. Like, it's like a better version of Elysium. I'm like, yeah, to be fair.
See, well, you know me, I am a sucker for a decent sci-fi movie. The one thing that annoys me with sci-fi movies sometimes is when they are too far-fetched. This one sounds more like something that actually could happen, which to me draws me in more.
Yeah, in terms of I'd say I think you'd really enjoy this. It is that way of making everything as grounded, but it is like a classic, almost Heart of Darkness-like story. It's almost, you could almost call this Apocalypse Now with AI, but presented in the prism of effectively a James Cameron movie, all under the directorial auspices of someone who very clearly has still an incredible career ahead of them. Because I still can't believe, the man only has say 4 or 5 films to his name, and he's operating at this level. Like, I can envision a world 10, 15 years from now in which Gareth Edwards is seen as how we see James Cameron now. He will do, if this is, and this isn't even like he's among his best movies, because Rogue One is hard to top, but this is someone who really knows what they're doing, and if he's still only starting out, god damn, we are in for a ride.
How long ago was it since his last movie? Because it sounds to me like he spends some real time thinking and planning these through, which is probably part of why they're so good, maybe?
Yeah, he's quite a specific. He is quite a specific helmer, as you say. He seems to very much know what he's shooting for. I think this is actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's his first movie actually since Rogue One, because Rogue One was 2016.
Yeah, quite a bit before COVID.
It was a long time before COVID. I mean, it's such a great movie, though. I mean, I watch it about once every 6 months. It's just my perfect Star Wars movie. It's a great, and also you get Ken Jeong, not Ken. I mean, you get Donnie Yen. I'm saying Ken Jeong. Why am I saying Ken Jeong? You get Donnie Yen as a blind monk in a Star Wars movie. That's hard to beat, and it's very much a Gareth Edwards cameo. Incidentally, Gareth Edwards turns up in a little cameo in The Last Jedi. He's on the planet with the red sand, the salt that comes. Yeah, he's one of the soldiers in the trench in there. That's Gareth Edwards.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
Every day's a school day. But this sounds right up my street. Yeah, I love this. And I think you're aware, I do have plans to go and see this.
You do, yes. You and Johnny, boy. Hi, Johnny. Yeah, you and Johnny are going to go and see it. Yeah, you're going to love this. I promise you are you're going to have a hell of a time. Just go in and you'll get I'll put it this way. I think this beat the hell out of both Avatar movies for me.
Wow. Okay. Well, I've only seen the first one, but I loved it.
This is a better Cameron movie than either of the last two Avatars. Just all I'm saying.
Well, I'm quite excited to see it, and it sounds like you had a whale of a time. So, if you want to see The Creator, it is out in cinemas from today, so you can go and see it yourself. Right, how many different ways can you kill someone? We're about to find out when we talk about Saw X in just a second. So we'll see what Van thought. Stay there. Hello and welcome back to the show then. Right, we've got Where the Wind I can't even say it. Where the Blind Blows. Where the Wind Blows to talk about in a moment. But right now, I'm really looking forward to hearing what you think of this. Saw X, essentially the 10th in the series. In my personal opinion, before you start, Saw 1, brilliant. Absolutely loved it, of course. Everyone did because it was a new concept. 2 and 3, yeah, okay. 4, I started to tail, and then I didn't watch anymore.
Right. I am, unsurprisingly to you, I'm sure I'm a huge fan of the Saw series. I'm a big fan of them. I didn't like the sort of reboot call they did last time, which was Spiral, the Chris Rock one. Wasn't a fan of that. Didn't like that. But the one previous to that, Jigsaw, which was a sort of a legacy sequel to the Saw series, I absolutely loved. And I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of the whole series. For me, they sit on that same level of enjoyment that and love that I have for the Final Destination franchise. It's a cheap and cheerful throwaway horror thing. It comes out every couple of years, and you have a gory good time with it. It's just a fun night at the pictures if you happen to be a sadist, which I very much am. I like watching people have to squirm their way out of really grisly, nasty traps for my amusement. That's the thing, Anyway, so. The notorious killer, not really a killer though, he psychopathic mastermind Jigsaw is back. Now it's worth noting that obviously he died in, I think it was the third Saw movie. So this
I was about to say that.
It's always been about his legacy. It's always been about people like his disciples carrying on, after his death. This is now a prequel that takes place, I think, after the events of the first movie. So Jigsaw is active, he abducts people, he puts them through these torture traps that are meant to teach them a lesson, overcome their bad behavior, things like that. And he's already established that. He's already into it. And we literally see the embryo stage of the design process here and there throughout this for things that will come up down the way in the series, like this trap here and this trap there. That's that trap from the fifth one. And, there's little bits like that. But this deals with John Kramer, a.k.a. Jigsaw, dealing with his cancer diagnosis, seeking treatments that are going nowhere until he finds this miraculous wonder treatment that's, it's got to be off the books because the American Medical Association don't approve the revolutionary drug cocktail, things like that. He discovers this in an exclusive clinic in Mexico, which... Yeah, that just kind of sounds like the setup for something dodgy. I'll just go to this clinic in Mexico. That's that's clearly going to be above board. He goes to this dodgy clinic in Mexico for this experimental cancer treatment, for this brain cancer that's going to kill him, and discovers that he has been fleeced, that he's been rinsed, that it was all a sham, a big elaborate show, and that they've done all of this just to get their hands on what's left of his money. So, of course, you can only push any man so far. Imagine what happens when the man you push is Jigsaw. I've got a clip for you. Here's the latest of one of Jigsaw's traps. This, by the way, is him inflicting punishment on a hospital worker that he's caught stealing patients' belongings.
I'd like to play a game. Perhaps one that addresses those sticky fingers of yours. I've had my eyes on you, and I do not like what I see. Your job as a custodian is a noble one. Sanitizing and sterilizing the hospital, helping patients avoid sickness. But there is a sickness inside you that needs to be excised. You have the ability to not only save your soul today, but your sight. All you have to do is click the dial across the 5 positions, and you will live to see another day. You have 60 seconds.
See, this is what the Saw movies do best, I think, is it tears you in half, because at one point you're thinking, yeah, you shouldn't thieve, yeah, you should have some punishment, and then 30 seconds later you're going, but you're pulling his fingernails off, that's a little bit too far.
It is. And don't get me wrong, I am on record with the Saw series as saying that this had actually gotten to such a stage of ridiculousness that he was just going to start inflicting out punishments to people who cut in front of the line at Starbucks. You know, that it was getting really extreme.
Yeah.
But you know, that's part of the fun of the Saw series. Look, there's 10 of these. You know what you're getting. It's the second movie this year that's made it to a 10th in the franchise that I'm going to go for bat for and say, look, you know what you're getting, and they're a good time. Like, let's enjoy it. And it is very much one of those. I sat and watched this with Ed Potman from The Times. And we just had an absolute ball. He and I just in full, mode all the way through this. And we weren't the only ones. This is sadistic, well-made, well-choreographed, just, playing the hits, having a good time, fun. And it's, no one does it like the Saw series. They are their own unique thing. This is, I would argue, this is one of the better ones, actually. I mean, in terms of its actual plot, its self-contained story is actually unusually gripping for this franchise, actually. Because normally I don't really care about the story. I'm there because I enjoy this gimmick of let's just take people and put them in these horrific traps. I normally don't give two figs about the actual story. Here I actually did care about the story. About, him getting his revenge and the sort of sympathetic character that they kind of make out of him for it, because you feel so justified in what he does to these people because, they're exploiting the dying. It's hard not to get on board with that point. But I had a really great time. So I think it's Kevin Grutar directed this one, who directed, I think it was Saw 6. I think he did. I know he'd done one of them in the franchise before, but not really a big director, but does have history with the Saw franchise, so he knows, the house style and the tone and when to kick the music in, and it's nothing new, but it's a pretty good one for this series. I really liked it. There's a couple of twists and turns that you can see coming a mile away, but then again, we've watched 10 of these, so we kind of know. If you don't get it after the previous 9, the 10th is not going to shock you that much. I thought this was really good. Just a nasty, grisly good time. And that's what I want from a Saw movie. I absolutely love this series.
I think you kind of answered my next question already, but what I was going to say is, does it have the usual trademark of you get so far through the movie and go, oh, I didn't see that coming, but by the sounds of it, you did.
I mean, yeah, well, no, we did. I mean, there was a point when I did turn to Ed at one point. That's weird. Why is? And asked a question, and then obviously 10 minutes later it became a plot point. It became a twist plot point. I'm like, okay, which I don't object to. I watch a lot of movies. It's fine. Sometimes I'm gonna second guess everything. But the other thing I'll say about this. So talking about the story being more gripping, it's worth noting the average Saw movie is about 90 minutes. Right?
Yeah.
I think, according to Kermode, actually, because we went for coffee before this. First pumpkin spice of the season, baby, by the way. I love me. You call me a basic bitch all you like. I love me a PSL, sir. Hashtag PSL for life. I am PSL, bro. But, anyway. I think he was telling me that The first Saw was 86 minutes. And I'm like, okay. So this is, I think it's an hour 58. So it's a good half hour longer than that, like the first
Wow.
one. But
Yeah.
it's worth noting that you don't really get to the general Saw movie until an hour into this. The first half of it is his story and going for the treatment, etc. I think the second half hour then is sort of him plotting his revenge, and then you get a Saw movie that lasts another hour. And do you know what? That feels the best way to have done it. It is really gripping.
Do you think that is aimed that and done that way because it's aimed at people that may not have seen the previous 9 and they want to do it as a self-contained movie?
That's funny you say that because it really does work as a self-contained movie. If you've never seen a Saw movie and this is going to be your first one, it's a good one to do. Actually, it is relatively self-contained. Other than who Amanda is, you know, because she's set up in the very first movie. And it's pretty easy to get. Oh, that's just The Apprentice. That's fine. It's one of those movies that works as well for fans as non-fans as far as that continuity goes. I mean, it's a weirdly funny movie as well, I have to say. Like the whole room, we were kind of in on the Saw show, and the whole room, we were just alive with laughter at times during this because there's just, you know, a little wry in joke here and there that really hit, but they're objectively broad enough that they work without the fandom, to be honest.
Oh, no, that's really good to hear, actually, because I hate it when movies like this end up coming out, but you've got to have watched the previous 64 to understand this one, and then you're like, oh,
looking
no.
at you, Fast series.
I'm saying nothing, but yes. Great, okay.
Wait, who's Dominic's brother in this one? Yeah, I get you there.
Yeah, exactly. So I like the premise of this, being able to watch it on its own. And if you want to watch it on its own, or you want to watch the previous 9 beforehand, you better hurry, because this is out in cinemas from today. Saw X. Right, one final ride. We're going to talk about Where the Wind Blows in just a minute, so stay right where you are. Hello and welcome back to Off Screen then. One last ride. We're going to look at Where the Wind Blows. Now, this is subtitled. It's based in... Did you say it's based in China?
Hong Kong, specifically.
Right, okay. So... Where the Wind Blows. The title doesn't really give much away.
No, it doesn't. It's a very abstract title. It's worth noting that when I typed this into IMDb just now to get the name of an actor, I think it came up with a completely different title as well. So it's obviously gone through iterations. Apparently, the Chinese government tried to ban this a couple of years ago. They really tried to stop it from. They didn't like the depictions it had of law enforcement and everything. They apparently tried to get it put aside after its premiere, I think in 2021. I think the government tried to intervene in its release. It's not like, you know, offensively anti-propaganda or anything like that, but it's just, you know, it's kind of like a Departed type movie. Think if you know Scorsese's The Departed, which itself is a remake of Infernal Affairs. Very much like that, kind of a crime drama thriller.
Okay,
so
that sounds good.
And it's about cops who, you know, basically wind up taking over the underworld. So we've not got a clip for this one, obviously, because it's entirely subtitled. But it's very much, like I say, a Departed-style movie, but it's a period piece at the same time. So it takes place over 50 years. Goes back to, I think, immediately post-war. China just immediately post-war, like black and white mode. It's also got, I think they go to the 70s. A large chunk of it is set in the 70s. And it goes all the way up. And he's about these two cops through the years. And do you know, I'll be really honest with you, I loved it. I had a great time with this. I was really suckered in. It's directed by Philip Young, who did Port of Call. And I will say, I know you're not someone who really ever tends to get sold on subtitled movies, but I know you love The Departed. You've got to love The Departed.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. Watch this. I think you'd really like this. Like, you will be gripped by this. Really well shot. Performances are great. I love the design of it, the aesthetic of it, the visuals. It really works.
It sounds a little bit like a modernised Lethal Weapon, but in China.
No. Lethal Weapon's a bit more breezy and fun, I think, than this one. This is, I say, very much a more laboured, like, it's conspiratorial. Like, every room is, drowning in rich cigarette smoke, whilst men have hushed conversations in their native tongue. Hangdog expression, like that. It's very much one of those movies. I say, you'd really like it, though. I mean, I know your movie allocation is full this week. What we're going to see, The Creator and everything with Johnny. But if you want something to watch at home and you don't, in fact, given the length of it, it's a perfect Sunday movie. It's a perfect Sunday afternoon for you. You want something different and gripping on your Sunday afternoon. I think this might be available on digital as well. But it's called Where the Wind Blows. Seek this out.
Is it, got to just ask this, because obviously you're recommending it to me, so I need to find out some finer details before we disappear.
Okay, yeah. Be thorough, yeah.
Oh, well, exactly. So are we talking like action-packed, or are we talking more mental thriller or gangster, or...
Exactly, it is a mob movie, a gangster movie like The Departed. So there is violence, but, it just tends to be like there's violence and there's death, but it does tend to be sort of gangster level, mobster level. I can't think of a better comparison piece than The Departed, to be really honest, but I would definitely go with that. Performances there by Aaron Kwok and Tony Leung Chu. I think it's Tony Leung Chu Wai. I think he's Leung Chu Wai. They are great. They are absolutely brilliant in this. So I was gripped by that, and there is a wonderfully smarmy quality to Aaron Kwok that does. You do tend to get that Leo and Damon kind of feeling out of them, because obviously they're not doing that as hunks. They're playing that. It's a Scorsese movie. They were playing that for grit. You're getting that here as well. Yeah.
Okay. No, I like the sound of that. That if it's a really good movie, I will be dragged in, even if it does have subtitles, because Squid Game is the only subtitled movie I've ever watched from start to finish and loved.
Yeah, that's not a movie, that's a show, isn't it, Squid Games?
It was a series.
It's a series.
Yeah, you're right.
It's a series, yeah.
See, that's how much I enjoyed it. In my head, it was just a really big movie, but actually it was
such an involving story. That was a big movie to me, yeah.
Yeah, I totally forgot that was a series. But obviously, I'm looking forward to the next Squid Game, which is coming out soon as well. But anyway, back to what we're talking about. Where the Wind Blows. It's in cinemas from today. I'm guessing not all cinemas.
No, because being subtitled movie tends to put to get it swept into art house cinemas more than anything anyway. But yeah, I think this is also available on digital. But like I say, absolutely worth seeking out though. Search
for it. It is called Where the Wind Blows. Okay, so next week, let's talk about some of the great movies we've got to look forward to. The one I'm looking forward to hearing you talk about next week is The Exorcist Believer.
I know, right? I can't believe we've got a rebootquel to The Exorcist, like a rebootquel / legacy sequel, because I think with this one, they're following the template of what they did with Halloween. In 2018 when we got Halloween, but it was effectively Halloween 2.
Yeah.
And it sort of ignored all the other sequels and just brought Jamie Lee Curtis back. Here you've got a similar setup with The Exorcist, where you're just getting a sequel to the original 1970s, first one. Kind of ignores the sequels and just says, okay, what happens if they have to bring the Ellen Burstyn character back, decades later, because she's now the expert. And I like this idea. I'm looking forward to it. People really were queuing up to smack talk the trailer, but I actually thought it looked pretty good.
Oh, well, I'm looking forward to hearing what you think of that one, because that's on my radar. We're also going to look at, is it Golda? I've not heard about this one.
Golda, new Helen Mirren movie. Yeah, I know. I've got this to watch. Looking forward to that. Give me a bit of old Dame Helen. Oh, I love Dame Helen. We've also got The Great Escaper and The Burial next week. And I got put in the most bizarre position yesterday where I was in Soho screening rooms watching this movie, and I awkwardly had to sit right behind the director. He just showed up because he hadn't seen the movie in a while, and he said, "How often do you get to watch your own movie at Soho screening rooms?" I think this is his second movie. It's called Mindset, and it's a black and white, contemporary British kitchen sink drama, for lack of a better term, about this couple's relationship. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to discuss that one, I think. But today made quite awkward. by, the director being sat like diagonally opposite me. And at one point, just out of exhaustion, not a reflection of the film, I did start to think, can I get away with having a kip for a minute? I don't want to offend him. One of those.
It's a bit like going on a date with their parents sat there watching.
Yeah,
you.
it would be like that. Yeah, it would be exactly like that. I've got to behave. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. All right, well, all of those to talk about next week. But for this week, I'm afraid that is all we've got time for. Until next week, I've been Adam Ball.
And I've been Van Connor, and we shall return.